just my opinion of him, but
So do you think that he is being somewhat controlled, though? Or is he in the controlling?
Yeah, I think Donnie's a follower. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he's a follower. And I think he's doing everything that Tim Mullins is telling him to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know why he looks up to Tim so much. Maybe they're more than just friends.
Wait.
Oh,
God.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Okay, well, Tim Mullins...
Animals and stuff.
Wait.
Why not do it to other men?
You think they're butt buddies?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, because Tim, on one of his Facebook accounts, he says weird shit in his bio. You know? Oh, my God. Mm-hmm. I cannot. You know what? I actually have not thought that, but...
Hi, my name is Dee. Welcome to Dee Presents. You heard it from Mary's own mouth. I know what I know about the Summer Wells case. And I know neglect when I see neglect. And I know abuse when I see abuse. I also know the signs of abuse when I see them. This case is sensitive, and I would like to extend a trigger warning at this point. No one wants to say these things about this little girl. I love Summer Wells, and I do not like to talk adversely about her, but all this must be brought out and it must be said. Unfortunately, that's what this case is about. The things that happen in this case aren't pretty, they're not nice, and they're not entirely normal. Leslie Earhart said this case is out of the norm, and I believe she knows her job well. I've learned a lot about the parents of Summer Wells through their own words and their actions through the last 2 years, 6 months, and 14 days. From appearing on the behavioral panel and Dr. Phil's show, we know that Candusbly doesn't want to talk about her missing child at all. It's my thought and my opinion that Summer Wells is still being neglected after 2 years, 6 months, and 14 days. We all saw the photos of Summer that depicted neglect in the Wells home. We heard about 1 can of soup with 4 hungry children. We heard about dollar store pizzas and bottles of whiskey being bought. We heard about what the adults in this case like to drink, but what about the 4 children? What was their regular drink of choice? We all heard about Donnie's departures to Knoxville to go on crack cocaine binges lasting for days at a time. What happened in the family unit then? Life went on. Food had to be bought. Mouths had to be fed, whether Don was there or not. Life went on, and I suppose Don Wells put his children in his home to the side during these binges. Knoxville is a rough place on the streets. Knoxville is a hub in the trafficking business. People go missing in Knoxville every day on a daily basis, especially young females. It's been said that Don Wells has been known to take one of his children with him on those trips to Knoxville. What was the purpose of that? What kind of father would do that? Think about this for a minute. He wants to get high on crack cocaine for days at a time, but he takes a child under the age of 12 with him to witness what he is doing. I certainly hope he didn't take that child along with him to be used as payment. What would the purpose of bringing a child along then? Not to teach the child anything good, that's for sure. To take your child with you on a crack cocaine binge is just wrong. To use that child as a form of payment is you abusing that child to the fullest extent. It's against the law. It's morally wrong, and it's also considered a sin in some people's minds. A man that does these things to his own biological child is low on the low pole. A man that does these things is the creepiest of them all. A man is supposed to protect his family, not trade them for a hit of crack cocaine. We heard Miss Mary Hartman say that Don has tried to sell his firstborn son for drugs when he was little. And her statements make the Knoxville trips all more believable that he took his children with him. It seems to me like Don Wells must think of his children the way he might think of cash money. Children do not equal cash money. How long has Don Wells been doing this? For how many years? Don Wells neglected his whole family. For the neglect, the one that went to Knoxville with Don wasn't being neglected, but what about the other 3 children and Candace at home? They were the ones being neglected. Did they have enough food? If it was cold, were they warm? Did they have heat? Don didn't care. If he cared, he would have been at 110 with his family, making sure they were safe and fed instead of being on a crack cocaine binge. He would have been doing what normal daddies do, stay with their families and go to work. If Don Wells used his children in this way, he abused them. It's plain and simple. He violated them and allowed them to be violated by others. If Don Wells used his children in this way, he will have to be accountable for it, not to you and not to I, but he will have to account for his actions when Judgment Day comes. But it's, in my opinion, that he should be put under the Hawkins, Sullivan, or Knoxville County Jail until that day comes. I'm not partial. Any jail will do. Resurrections and judgments are going to be rough on Don Wells. I don't feel sorry for Don Wells one bit. It's his innocent baby girl that I feel for. Summer Wells was a baby, 5 years old. She didn't even know what lightning was. Summer is the one I worried about for 2 years, 6 months, and 14 days. Summer is the one that maybe lost her life. We don't know. Summer is the one that was raised maybe as a commodity. Summer is the one that got shortchanged in life. Summer is the one that we see in photos, a little baby holding herself. Summer is the most visibly abused, as we see in the photos of the Wells family. Summer is the one that bear the brunt of the sins of her father. Summer is the one that disappeared. She's the one that captured our hearts and our souls, and for some of us, she captured our minds. Summer is the reason we're here at this place that we are, not knowing her fate, not knowing if she lives or died. We can speculate from now until the end of days. But unless her remains are found, we may never know exactly what happened in that family unit, or even that neighborhood unit. If no one steps up to the plate to tell the truth, we may never know. The family isn't telling everything they know. Andy can't remember shit, and the rest, he said, were dreams. JSB is, well, empty chaos, like empty clouds in a vast blue sky, blowing this way and that way, never producing anything useful at all, never being productive at all, just hindering. Don Wells would leave them for days at a time, and once for months at a time. If he was neglecting his family, well, then common sense will tell you he was also neglecting to go to work on those Knoxville days. He said he was working in Utah and sending money to Candace. I just wonder if this is true, if he sent money to her. Abuse, we saw it in the photos. If we looked long enough, we actually truly saw neglect in the photos and abuse. Summer had bruises, bumps, and scrapes more often than the boys. We saw Candace with healing black eyes and bruises more than a couple of times. She looked beat the F out of in one of those church videos. The whole side of her face was bruised. I don't feel sorry for candusbly. She's a grown woman, but Summer was just a baby. She knew nothing, but Candace and Don were appointed to protect her, and they didn't opt for her to be one of their priorities. They chose to get high on drugs and get drunk every night. According to Donwells, he played house. He must have liked playing house because he kept on doing those actions and those behaviors, and they carried on over into his adult life and helped him on his life journey to be who he was going to be. Donwells started being an incestuous creep at age 12.
I know the animal thing is probably true, unfortunately, because someone who's been there has actually personally told me that a little kitten jumped.
I walked in on him when I was about 16 years old in the bedroom
With an animal?
with my sister's little poodle. I walked in on him. Yep. I mean, if you guys want me to tell you what he was doing, I will. And it's crazy shit. But that poor dog was sitting there trembling to death with fear in her eyes, looking at me like, save me, save me. And I did. I saved her.